Welcome to the podcast. This show is about the Real Estate Network Training Society community, also known as Rents. We're a diverse group of investors and our members range from beginners to seasoned pros. Rents is the only charity real estate education company in Canada, and we're here to help you on your journey to financial freedom using real estate. My name is Sam Perrin. I'm the president of Rents, and I'll be your host today. I'm a full-time real estate investor who's retired as a police officer at the age of 30 to spend more time with my family. Now I help people create passive income through real estate. As you'll see from the many stories shared on this show, there's lots of roads that will take you to your goals. When you hear the diverse experiences of our guests, I bet that you'll find a path that mirrors your own, and this will inspire you to take the actions needed to build your wealth too. When you become financially free, you're better positioned to make the world a better place. And that's what we're all about. You can send any questions or suggestions for the show to info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. Enjoy the show.
My guest today is Rod McLaren. Rod is a good friend and my business partner for the past year. If I could describe the past year working together, the following quote comes to mind. As iron sharpens iron, so does one person sharpen another. Each of us pushes the other to develop skills that were otherwise lacking, and it's been a great partnership so far. So, wife has a lovely wife, 3 great kids. He's one of the smartest and most highly educated guys I know. And Rod worked as an engineer and started his family before deciding that, hey, I think I'd like to become a doctor. So now he works as a family physician, but at the same time, he's built an impressive real estate portfolio and keeps moving the bar higher. Rod is also the vice president of Rents, and he has a dogged schedule that very few could emulate. So I'm very excited to have him here today. Thanks, Rod, for your time.
Oh, thanks, Sam. Those are very kind words that you said. It's kind of embarrassing to hear them. Thanks very much for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be interviewed for the Rents Club. It's a club that I really enjoy helping out with, and I think it's a great endeavor. And thanks very much. It's been great to get to know you over the last year. And what would you like to ask?
Well, first off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a family physician here in Kamloops, and one of the things that I started out as a doctor, and I've got a family of 3. I'm married, and live here in Kamloops. Been here since about 2003, I'd say, and yes, call Kamloops home, and really love living here. Talking about yourself and saying what you do can sometimes be a hard thing to answer. So when people ask me what I do, I guess that's kind of been an evolution over time. Years ago, I'd say I'm a physician, and I dabble in a bit of real estate. And then over time it was I'm a doctor by day and a real estate investor by night. And but now when I meet people, I tell them I've got 2 careers going at once, medicine and real estate. So saying who I am and what I do is kind of evolved over time. But my eventual goal is to be able to say I'm a real estate investor, but I have a hobby on the side called being a doctor.
That's wonderful, and we'll get into how you get everything done that you do in a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family? I think everybody would love to hear more about them.
Yeah, sure, Sam. Yeah, I'm blessed to have a wonderful family. I've been married to my wife Samantha now for over 21 years. Believe it or not, we've got 3 wonderful children.
Wow.
I've got two girls that are teenagers and a son who's 10. And my family's a huge reason why I got into real estate. I wanted to be able to spend time with them. As a doctor, you're very consumed with your job.
Yeah.
Starting out, I was getting up at 5 in the morning every day, sometimes 4 a.m. And I'd work till 6, and then come home and do a couple more hours work in the evening. I had to be on call every few weeks and work weekends. I put in shifts at the local walk-in clinic too. So, this is the mentality we possess getting out of medical school. So it was abysmal, for family life. And I knew that sort of life was not sustainable. So, I knew that as a doctor, you're the earner. You're exchanging hours for dollars. So the more hours you give, the more dollars you get. And as soon as you can't give the hours, the dollars stop. So, this kind of scared me, and I wanted to have a future that if I couldn't or didn't want to work as hard as that, I could scale back. And I also knew that my children, as they got older, I'd want to have a lot more time for them. And, this led to a period of research and reflection, and it's kind of how I got into real estate.
Yeah, well, that's very noble to want to spend more time with your family. And so let's go back to that time when you, because you guys have been married 21 years. Let's go back to that time when you guys first met. I know Samantha. I've gotten to know her a little bit, and she just thinks that you're awesome. She cares for you very deeply. She's very risk adverse when it comes to your safety. I remember when we were going together to Vancouver to exhibit and speak in front of a bunch of investors. She wanted you to drive and not me, and she doesn't want you to fly in small airplanes because that can be dangerous. So, is it fair to say that she's very risk adverse when it comes to your welfare?
Well, Sam, yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. She's a wonderful woman, and I love her very much. But you're right. She is risk averse. We all have friends or people we know that have died on our treacherous winter highway. So she's probably saved my bacon on a few occasions by stopping me from heading out into dangerous conditions. I appreciate she's like that. And she certainly is a kind of tempers my exhilaration and getting involved in things. It's kind of good to have her as sort of that other perspective to kind of help me with decision making and
good to have that balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've mentioned before that she has a marketing degree, and she's now a teacher. So she used to do books for business, though, and she doesn't anymore. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. Back when I started out, as a doctor and incorporated, and I was paying her a salary to do some stuff, administrative and bookkeeping. So she was doing my bookkeeping, but she really didn't like doing it, and she got out of commerce and marketing and into teaching because she didn't really want to do that side of things. And I thought, well, you got a commerce degree, you're perfect. You can do the books and do all the business side, and it's a perfect fit. And boy, that was not the way to go because she didn't really like doing it. She didn't want to do it, and it just ended up, after realizing that her gift is more towards other things, and bookkeeping wasn't her joy in life. That I ended up just hiring a bookkeeper, and that's one piece of advice I think I would give to anybody is that unless your wife is a bookkeeper and she's trained and loves bookkeeping and accounting and that's her joy in life, that just for happiness and getting along, and I think hire a bookkeeper. They're pretty cheap and they'll do a lot better job than your spouse or would probably do, and it'll be cheaper in the long run because if you do your books well, you get a good bookkeeper, then your accounting fees go way down. And that's what I found. I found after I switched to a bookkeeper, a professional bookkeeper, my accountant was a lot happier, and it saved a lot of time, and there was less back and forth, and it just worked out a lot better.
Yeah. So, the reason why we're talking about Samantha and the way you guys do things, I think a lot of our listeners, maybe they are able to do what they do because of the support they have at home, or maybe they feel like they're being blocked by maybe some of the inhibitions of their partner. Do you think Samantha being risk adverse, did that carry into the business at all, or is that something you guys had to overcome?
Yeah, I think in the beginning when I first got into looking at real estate and was studying, trying to find an option for some sort of a fallback position. If I wasn't able to work or be a doctor, and I did a lot of research, and then I had this. I discovered that real estate seemed to fit the bill. So I'm the type of personality that'll kind of jump into things and then try them out, and if they don't work out, too bad. At least I tried and failed rather than not tried at all. So I had this idea of buying some property and renting out or getting tenants and doing all this stuff, and it was a huge it was very unfamiliar for her, and she really wasn't too keen on me getting involved in this. But I explained the numbers and I showed her how it works and what I planned to do, and she came around, and we started. That's started on the real estate career. But it was good to have her, thinking back, to have her kind of question things and ask me, what about this, what about that. It helps a lot because it's easy to get yourself into hot water if you don't have that other side of things to question you.
Yeah. So and that support also is really important. It's interesting that both of you kind of changed careers. I'm sure that was any change is hard, but I think it's really neat how you guys supported each other in the transition. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on that or?
We're, Samantha's and I, she knows that I, like to kind of keep challenged. It was, and getting more and more, moving to higher levels with our real estate business. She's been very supportive. In fact, after, we've reached a point now where she is supportive with whatever I come up with, that it's, she trusts me now. She trusts my decisions and my judgment. There's really very little question now because of the track record I've created with her. But yeah, she's been there through a lot of changes. I remember when she met me, I was still working as an engineer, and I kind of dropped a bit of a change on her. There was when I started talking about possibly becoming a doctor. So she really sort of helped me through all that decision process. So it's very helpful having a partner who's there, who kind of helps you through these sort of changes.
Yeah, you bet. I'd like to talk a little bit about your kids. Tell me about them. How do they fit into your busy lives, and we'll talk a bit about their interest or lack of interest in real estate, and let's hear about your kids.
Yeah, so I've got 3 kids. 2 girls are, as I mentioned, they're teenagers. One's 16, one's 13, and the youngest is a boy. He's 10. So, I try to emulate, the reasons and about why I try to be an example to them, and I try to impart on them the importance of hard work, and I would be very happy if one of them did decide to take over the reins one day when I'm 95 and can't really do it anymore. That one of them does sort of take over, and I have a feeling one of them will. But I don't push it on them. I don't try to ram it down their throat and say, well, one of you has to be, running all this. I just said, if the way I spin it is that, I think it's important for you to have a career or something that you want to do, something that you love. And the real estate portfolio, that's good, could be your sideline, and you can just run that on the side. And I'm not sure how that's going to look. Maybe all 3 of them will want to share in doing that. Maybe none of them will. I don't know, but I'm not going to really push them. They're going to do what they want to do.
You have some time, I think, because how old are they?
Well, 16, 13, and 10. So, Yeah, the eldest, Sky, she's expressed some interest to maybe looking after doing this business, but I don't know. We'll see. We can change our minds, as we get older and our lives change, and I'm terrible at making predictions like that, but I do try. What I'm trying to show them is that you work hard and you have goals and you work hard towards them, and that you keep focused and you keep positive, and somehow, some way, things happen. And I think if I can demonstrate that by the way I work and do my business in life, they'll learn from that, and they'll see that having a focus, having goals and working towards them and not giving up, is so important. One of the things I don't know if it's my saying or I stole it from somewhere, but I always just say to them, whatever they're doing, I say, whatever you do, do your best. And I say that about everything, that if you're going to do something, do it well, do your best job, and that hopefully that imparts on them to put an effort in whatever they do.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So I don't know if you're still getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning anymore. I know sometimes you do, but Rod, why do you work so hard? What's your driving reason?
Well, that's I'd probably have to blame that on my dad. When I was young, he worked really, really hard. He didn't have the opportunity to go to university and get like professional degrees or anything like that, like I did. He finished high school and he went right into the workforce, and he worked very hard. I remember as a kid, he was always at work. He'd come home late. He was always tinkering, always doing stuff. When on his day off, he never sat around. He'd work in the garden or fix things or whatever. And I think that rubbed off on me quite a bit. So I know that one of the things that I learned from him is striving to be on time, and if I had something to go to or to get up for in the morning, like he'd be banging on my door, and I'd never be late for anything. I remember once when I was a kid, I must have been 8 or 9, and we were going on a road trip to somewhere in Washington or somewhere, and as a family, the 5 of us. And I remember, I still have this image in my head of feeling like exhausted, because he had woken us up in it felt like the middle of the night, and got us all rounded up and all packed. And I swear we were on the road by 3:30 in the morning, wherever we were going.
Wow!
But I remember that to this day, and I don't know. I think that's just it's kind of taught me that you got an important thing to be at or to do. You make the effort. You do whatever you can to get there and be early. And I think that's rubbed off, because I've been to job interviews in the past an hour early. I think it's from those experiences.
Well, it's good to have a great role model like that, for sure. But have you ever done that to your kids? Gotten them up at 2 or 3 in the morning to go on a road trip?
I'm like a drill sergeant. Yeah, when we're on a camping trip and a road trip and stuff. Yeah, no, we'll get them up early. They know and maybe that'll rub off on them. However, I don't know. These days they seem to just want to sleep all day.
Yeah, well, they're growing, I guess. So, right now you're working as a physician. You're an engineer before that. Went to university. Did you have this all planned out from the beginning, or was there a turning point in your life where you made a choice that set a path for you? Was there a pivotal moment where if you'd made a different choice, you'd be on a completely different path?
Yeah. I was talking to my wife about this last night, because I was actually thinking about that recently. I was an engineer, And I kind of had an inspiration to maybe go into medicine and to work with people and whatnot. And I was an engineer, and I got married to my wife Samantha, and I was doing that job, and I just I had this feeling like that that I wanted to do something more, and medicine always was an interest to me. And I talked to her about it, and we sort of casually mentioned it, but it seemed so far off, so impossible. I was like 25 or whatever at the time, and it seemed like it was not really an option. And then one day we were living in Ladner or Tsawwassen, and I got up. It was a Sunday morning, and I had this feeling. I just woke up with this feeling. It was just this weird feeling like, do it. Just do it. And we got up. We went to church. We were attending Tsawwassen Baptist, I think it was called, a big one in Tsawwassen. And it was, had the service and went to the service. I had this weird feeling. It's just this energy, this overwhelming feeling. I can't explain it. And I remember leaving the service, walking down the steps. The sun was shining. The sky was blue. It was a beautiful day. Halfway down the steps, I turned to Samantha. I said, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to be a doctor. And she said, really? And I from that day, then it was this energy to just go for it. And it seemed like insurmountable because it was basically impossible to get in, but I just went and applied and did all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, I got in, and somehow, some way, finished it, and here I am as a doctor. So I don't know, I don't really, I think we all have a plan for our life. I'm Christian. We go to church, and I think there's got to be some way, and I don't know where the medicine's going to lead me, but getting into the real estate business and developing that as a sideline, and that's getting more. I don't know how that's going to work. Like we've talked about, maybe down the road when the kids are older, about volunteering or working overseas in third world countries or something like that. So maybe that's what the real estate business is going to. I'm thinking that it's going to be able to create that ability to back away from having to exchange those hours for dollars as a doctor, and maybe use those skills in another capacity. I don't know. I'm just sort of going down a path that seems like the one I'm supposed to go down. So
yeah, it sounds like you had a real calling.
Well, the medicine, was an aha moment. It was all of that one morning. I remember that. So the real estate thing was just more of a, I don't know, kind of a process, of seemed like the wise thing to do and to get into, and that just seemed like a logical thing to get involved with. I don't know what's next, but that's the plan anyway. And I guess there is no plan. It's just what seems, what doors seem to open, and I don't know if I'm in control of those doors. I don't know.
Not completely, it seems, but with hard work we can certainly influence them a bit. So yeah. Rod, how did you start in real estate?
Yeah, I finished medicine and started out as a doctor, and started bringing in some money and paying off bills, and bought a house, and then I started to get a bit of a nest egg. And I was investing that with financial advisors and in the usual stuff that everybody does. And it just seemed like, this doesn't seem like the pathway towards financial freedom. It just didn't seem to be, I like to have more control over things, and I like to have more involvement. So I just read and did a bunch of research onto what are some other options. I didn't want to do another degree or have to go back to school. What's some way to take more control without having to, expend months and months of training? And it just was a period of research and reflection, and over several months, and reading multiple books. And I remember seeing this little blue book on the shelf in Chapters in Kamloops one day I was trying to pick out what to read next, and a little blue book, and I grabbed it. It was called Real Estate Investing in Canada by Don R. Campbell. And so I grabbed that book, flipped through it, and I thought, well, I'll grab this one. It's Canadian. What the heck? It's maybe I'll learn something relevant to Canada. So I read it, and that was the defining book that I read. It had a plan. It went through it was quite simple how it explained it, but it seemed like, this makes sense. What the heck? Let's try it out. So that was and I've gone on to join the RAIN Real Estate Investment Network, but back then it was just read a book, and that just sort of helped make the decisions to not just you can read books forever. You read a book, you can read books about riding a bike, but until you actually get on one and ride it, you're just going to keep reading.
That's right.
It'll never end. So that was sort of the kickstart to do something, and that's how I got started.
What was your first purchase?
It was three houses in Westside, and it was a lot of money to buy three houses all of a sudden. So prices were a huge amount less than they are now, and so I found a friend who had some skills and money too, and we decided to form a joint venture. We got our first joint venture agreement, and we each kind of went 50-50, put in our own cash, and we bought this thing. And that's how I got started. It was just more of just try it out and see how it goes.
Well, Rod, you are an action taker, because most people would start out with one, and maybe they would maybe try it on their own. But here you are, for your first deal, doing a joint venture and buying three properties all at once. So
you gotta go big or go home.
I've got to commend you. Most people don't move that quickly. So when was that, and what have you managed to acquire since then?
Yeah, so that was 2006.
Okay.
And since then, I started out sort of self-funding stuff. So I got involved in a little commercial property, like a or a shopping mall sort of property that I dabbled with, and then I got a couple of little apartments. They were, I got them on using CMHC insurance, so I really didn't need to put hardly any money at all into getting those. And then, but there's a point where you reach where you're not able to really self-fund anymore. There's only so much money you can make or dig up or come up with, and you got to. I think every real estate investor just starts to realize that you've got to reach out and look at finding investors to get involved in your deals. And so I thought I've developed some experience, a bit of track record, some, done some, the deals I did were working out really well. And I thought, well, let's take this up to the next level. Let's look at an apartment building. Let's look at, the economies of scale and go to the next level up. So then, apartment buildings is a different game, because you don't need $100,000. You need like $1 million, and that's that's a lot of money. so that's what I proceeded to do is to raise money and go out and buy apartment buildings. So I went and did that twice, and then I had the third one. I forget. I think I got wind of it, and that's when I said, "Hey, Sam, you want to partner up on this?" And I think that's how our business collaboration started. Now we've took as a partnership this third building, and that's where we're at now. So that's lots of fun. The latest one.
yeah, lots of work there, and almost very long time from the time that we had the offer accepted to the time that we closed.
It's a slow and steady race to the end, with lots of twists and turns.
yeah, you bet. And normalizing buildings is always interesting. So it's a good sized project. So
it's all part of the game. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. So you're doing this part time. You still have your practice. You see a lot of patients every week. How are you able to acquire and manage your portfolio and still, work the long hours required of a physician? And actually, I mean, you're not just a physician. You don't just show up. You're an entrepreneur. You own your practice, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that hasn't been automatic. In the beginning, I was kind of doing the self-management of our properties when we first got them. But at a point, I realized that, hey, this is crazy. I'm spending all this time meeting tenants, showing suites, and just all this stuff. I talked to my joint venture partner and convinced him that let's go hire a management company. So we did that, and that was a huge step towards freeing up time. So, it was manage yourself, get a property management company, and then as you accumulate portfolio, even though you have property management company, for me, I had a medical practice, I have staff, I have payroll, I have all this stuff. I just reached a point where I was like this rat running on a treadmill, not really getting anywhere, and so I decided, well, what are I going to do? I got to do something. So I thought, well, I'll get a coach. That's what I'll do. I'll get a coach, and they'll tell me what to do. So anyway, and then you hire a coach. I thought, well, okay, I'm going to hire a coach. Well, I want the best coach. Who's the best? So and without being totally insanely a ton of money, I found who seemed to be the best value for the money, who was very good at what they do, and I checked them out. And so I hired a coach, and then he had all these ideas. And he said, you got to hire somebody. You got to hire an assistant. So I hired an assistant, and that was a hard step because I thought, like, how can anybody do these things only I can do? Like, there's no way. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm the only one who can do these things. But I was wrong. So I hired an assistant, and she, helped with a lot of stuff. And so that went on for a couple of years, and now we're kind of now it's an interesting evolution because now the portfolio's grown that we've backed away from having outside property management, that now it's feasible to have built-in management, our own staff, and that's created a whole element more of busyness. So now right now I'm starting to feel like that rat on the treadmill again. So now it's trying to figure out how to sort out that. So, it's all an evolution. It's all stages. So I'm not quite sure what the next way is now. But and I'm also working a little less in the office as I can. I've got some help there. There's a physician who's been working in my office a day or two a week, and that's really helped. So, yeah, it's just all stages, as time goes by, and it's you just learn to figure out ways to manage your time that seem to work effectively. So, it's an interesting time. It's exciting. It's fun. There's lots going on, but also it's a time of developing systems, developing ways of doing things, coming up with other ways to free up time and to make things run more smoothly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's really encouraging to hear that you've been able to find ways to leverage your time, and you've been able to navigate this. And so I guess the key message is it doesn't really matter if you don't have all the time or all the skill that you need. You can develop some, or partner with others, or hire out tasks that maybe you don't need to be doing that other people can handle. So there is a way to grow, and you're doing it. So that's so cool to watch. You were an employee, and then you went to entrepreneur, owning your own practice, and then into as an investor. Can you just talk briefly about that? We're getting close to being out of time, but I just want to touch on that before we part ways.
Yeah, well, I think it's a way we're wired. Some people don't want the stress of being an entrepreneur, or they prefer to be an employee and have to be able to go home at night and just have their night off and being an entrepreneur, I think it's you have to be wired that way. There's times where you don't rest, where you go, and stresses come at you and things come at you. I think, but me, the way I'm wired, that's how I'm wired. I'm wired to be an entrepreneur and be. Looking back when I was an employee, I didn't like it. I just did not like having my future, my everything kind of controlled by some entity. I far prefer having, the control to decide my own destiny in a way. And but we're all wired differently. Some people are awesome employees. They love to take part, do their job and work hard, and they're awesome. But being an entrepreneur, it's not for everybody. There's some nights where it's you have trouble falling asleep. There's those days where it feels like you're just getting bombarded with this and that and the other thing, and all these things seem to go wrong at once. And it takes a resiliency. It takes a strength that I think. I'm not bragging. I'm not saying. I think maybe I'm partially crazy to be, doing this, but it does take some sort of resiliency to take a beating and keep on going. I'm sure you found the same. As well. Your path is going from being an employee to an entrepreneur in a way too, because as a real estate investor, we are entrepreneurs. We are running a business. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and if you're a successful entrepreneur, well, then you make some extra money, and then you have money to invest. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And then eventually, if you build up enough of a nest egg, then you can just be, you don't have to do all the work. You can just invest.
That's right.
That's kind of I think the goal for everybody, but it takes some time to get there. So. Yeah,
exactly.
So, Rod, what are you afraid of, and how do you overcome your fears?
Yeah, I thought that's a good question. I guess I'm afraid of. One of the things thinking back was when I was in high school, and we had to give a speech on Shakespeare, and I forget the details, but I remember the whole year I just dreaded having to give this speech. It's just like it hung over me, and it was an end-of-year thing, and I had to give this oral report on a topic that I had no interest in, and I just completely despised, and it was terrible. And then I got into university, and I thought, well, I think public speaking and, being able to present and talk in front of groups is probably going to be important. So I actually, to overcome that fear, I joined Toastmasters. And that is, was a really great program to develop skills and overcome the fear of public speaking. And the fear just went away.
Or practice.
Out of practice and in a supportive environment where they were, give you advice and help you with your speaking, and you eventually just sort of realize that, hey, it's not as terrible. Like when you and I went to Vancouver to speak at the Land Rush event, I can tell you 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I never would have even imagined in a million years, ever in a trillion years, standing in front of like 500 people and giving a talk. That was a giant.
You did great. You did. Well, I think we had a pretty good presentation. We did post a good chunk of money out of that room for our project, so I think that went well.
Yeah, I think it went well, but that's just a case of where if you have a fear, just don't do something about it. Find out a way to address it and overcome that fear. And if you do it, it opens up doors and it creates opportunities. So don't let a phobia or a fear or something you're scared of get in the way. Like you can overcome fears. It's very doable.
That's really good advice. And just baby steps. And you're right. You're totally right about Toastmasters. I've attended a couple meetings and very, very supportive environment. So, and now you've spoken in live. You're in front of 500 plus people, and now you're speaking in front of thousands of people through the podcast here, so
yeah.
I guess there's no turning back now. So
right.
So Rod, what would you tell people who, they're thinking about getting into real estate and they're thinking to themselves, well, gee, I don't know if I want to network with other investors or maybe just do this myself. What would you say to people who ask themselves, is this for me?
Well, I think those people need to kind of take a look at themselves and try and decide if, what do they want? What are their goals? And are they happy just being an employee or whatever they're doing and just going day by day, or do they want something more? Are they a person who needs to, do something extra? Or maybe they want to have a stability down the road. They've got to make that decision. And once they make that decision, then they've just got to run with it. It's starting out though. I would suggest that if they can, to do it with their own money, if they can, to make their mistakes and at least do one project that they can hang their hat on.
Yeah.
I think that's would be way easier than just to come up and say, hey, I've got this idea. Will you come on board with me? I'll do the work. You give me the money. I think it's much more sellable if you have a track record. So whatever you can do to do it yourself and learn the lumps, take the lumps and learn the lessons with your own money.
It's good advice. No better teacher than experience.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, this has been an awesome interview. We're unfortunately out of time, but I really look forward to the next rents meeting because I understand you'll be speaking on buying apartment buildings. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your take on it. And I got to say, I was really impressed by your talk last year, so I know this one will be great as well.
Yeah, I'm going to try and impart some meaningful advice to everyone, and I don't want to give too much away, but I hope we, if anybody's interested in apartment buildings or greater, level of real estate investing to attend our rents meeting. It's a great time, a great way to meet people and to network.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Rod.
Well, you're welcome, Sam, and have yourself a great day.
You as well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Before we close the show, I just want to say that all the activities Rents undertakes, including this podcast, benefits our bursary program. We've given thousands in bursaries to post-secondary students in real estate-related fields of study. And in that light, I'm asking that wherever you're listening to this, please comment and let us know what you think, good or bad. You're also invited to our next meeting for free. You'll learn something new from one of our speakers and even have a chance to pitch your deal. Do you need cash? Are you looking for property to buy? Share what you're missing with the group and watch your business grow. At recent meetings, there was over $1,500 in finder's fees handed out just for providing a name and a number to someone who was selling a property. There's always at least $1 million in the room looking for the right opportunity, so this is your chance to pitch your deal. You never know where you're going to meet your next joint venture partner. If you're new to real estate investment, we want to hear from you too. You have unique talents and experiences that we can all benefit from, so please come share. You'll have the opportunity to learn the business and meet other like-minded people looking to make the world a better place. Remember that everything you want is in the hands of others, so come learn how to serve them. Lastly, we ask that you leave us a 5-star review. This will help others who need unbiased real estate education find us. To join us in person or online, please email info@rents.website. That's info@rents.website. See you next time.